guys around. This year I did, along with the help of the staff. Again, they don't really get a say in that. But there's a method to the madness. I think when the guys went into the team room for the first time, I made them all stand up after they sat down. I let them sit down, and I had them stand up, and I had them move seats. Why? It's a new year.
Cool.
It's elementary school.
No, you wanted this in the show, and so I am now going to tell you what I think this actually signifies.
Go ahead.
This plus the thing in blue above the topic bar. Cowboys odds to win over 7.5 games. Even money. Coin flip. Will they get to 8 wins? Your awful Patriots, I think, number is 8.5,
Not
right?
awful. They're 8.5.
I think that this being the biggest Cowboys story that we've had in...
Well, Jerry Jones is making those moves pre or post-draft.
Post-draft,
so we're
the biggest Cowboys
right there
story
in the heart of it.
Is a canary in the coal mine of the Cowboys' relevance waning a bit.
What are you talking about?
Go ahead, Wallace.
He brought people in. Everybody sat down. He said, "Everybody stand up."
Okay, but you
little
love
game of
this
musical
story.
chairs right in the locker room. Let me just say this: do we think the Cowboys have in the past had enough talent to compete, and have could just come up short in the playoffs for some je ne sais quoi reason?
Yes.
Choking. The moment's too big. You're at home. Is there too much pressure? Is it
Follow quarterback draw with no...
That doesn't... Yeah,
have Zeke play center.
Silly ways. I'm just saying it's not... It hit my... Maybe that'll work.
Why? Why would it work?
I just like... Sometimes I like shaking the snow globe up and saying, here's the biggest glass half full reason why I think it could work. You know what? Micah, you are the leader of the defense. Dak, you are the leader of the offense. Special teams, no one's talking about you right now. You guys are the leaders of this team. It's not Jerry Jones. It's not even necessarily me. I'm just putting this, not me, Kevin Wilde, it's me, Brian Schottenheimer, putting you guys together. Yeah. You lead the team. I liked it.
You didn't like it.
I did. I have also seen success. I'm also a big fan of moving chairs around.
I know, but
traditionally,
here's
switch up the desks. Remember, we do a special show. I'm like, let's move that desk.
Yeah, I know you. I know that you do feel that way. I also know this. Now we're very fortunate. The show's doing good, doing well, fine.
Right, we don't have 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
Right, but
let's all settle down.
That's fine, but we're doing all right. Let's say we weren't, and at some point we won't. At some point they'll get rid of us. And our boss came in from LA. It's like, guys, obviously things have not been going the way we hoped. Here's what we're doing. You know how Brew preps upstairs? Now he's taken the shared office next to your shared office. Meeting over. Wow. You would turn to me and be like, we're screwed. They have no plan. And
no, I think that would work.
Okay. You know you don't.
I swear to God, I like that stuff.
Okay.
I like that stuff.
Okay. Okay.
I have it. I've moved people's chairs around when
you were a boss.
And I was like,
you were Schottenheimer?
No, I'm saying
maybe that's why you're not a boss anymore.
It changes the dynamic of things. Maybe. Want to hear a great story that has nothing to do with sports, but I found it interesting?
Yeah, then
sure.
We have to
Brew's not here. It's more like a podcast.
It's not more like a podcast.
It is. We're doing great on podcasts, aren't we, Gianna?
Just don't talk to Gianna. Talk to me and the audience. Tell your quick story. Then we have to do the Abdul Carter thing.
My kid's elementary school teacher.
God dog it.
They let everyone pick their seats.
Yeah, of course.
Did you know that this trick?
Just go ahead.
It's a trick.
Yeah.
You pick your seat and you're all next to your buddies. So then the teacher writes down where everybody is, and then the next day you're far away from your buddy.
What does that have to do with this?
Because now they know they obviously weren't together, right? Honestly, God, they obviously weren't together for some reason. Well, now they are together. It's called leadership.
Okay. Thanks, pal.
Abdul Carter.
Okay. You know you don't really got a lot to say when the whole segment just turns into a joke. Oh gosh, this is the dumbest thing ever. Listen. I want to take this in so many different ways. Listen. This isn't even necessarily the worst thing. Because there can be some benefit to that, right? To trying to be like, hey, I feel like this locker room is a little bit disconnected. We gotta find a way to kind of get this locker room connected, especially if there's some sort of rift between Micah and Dak, etc., etc. Not the worst thing. It's really not. But one, if you think that's not going to change everything, you're delusional. Two, if you think that this is information that should be shared at a press conference and say it with your chest out like you're doing something real special, there's a method to the madness. Well, they all stood up and sat down. They didn't have a say. Why? Because it's a new year. That's a guy who really thinks that what he's saying is he's dropping knowledge here. It's got some man. No, I'm not gonna say. I mean, I was gonna say a couple of names, but I'm not gonna do it. It just reminds me of people who really think that they're dropping wisdom. Listen here. Dak Prescott, he's a quarterback in the NFL. You know what that stands for? The National Football League. He wears a star on his helmet. That represents the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I know. Dak Prescott, quarterback. Dallas Cowboys. National Football League. Are you guys following what I'm saying right now? Take notes. Keep up or get left behind. That's the energy that's getting put out. I didn't say anything. What I just said was a bunch of nonsense. Obvious things. And now you're acting like you're dropping just coach wisdom. There's a method to my madness. I make them sit where I want them to sit. It's like, all right, bro. Okay. You know what that signals to me? Nick, it signaled to Nick that, the popularity of this team is waning. I don't believe that. The fan base is still massive. But this signals to me that Schottenheimer's like a little insecure. Not super confident. Trying to pretend to be something more than he is. And that's a problem for a coach. We see this all the time with lots of coaches, and it's a problem. I played for coaches like that. It's a problem. It's a problem. And so again, if you want to mix up this locker room because you think that it could help, I'm all for that. But the way in which you deliver it honestly says a lot. And if that's the way you're delivering this small little thing, a method to my madness, I'm nervous for what other things you're about to do. Which is why I loved Ben Johnson's interview. Very grounded, very real, very authentic. This is inauthentic nonsense. It just is. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why it's kind of a split conversation. It's like, this itself isn't awful. On one side, you're like, oh, they're treating them like kids, which is true. Which is why you got to have the conversation. You got to say, you know what, guys? I think our locker room is a little bit disconnected. I'm going to treat you like a bunch of grown human beings right now. I'm not going to treat you like a bunch of kids. Because when I treat you like a bunch of kids, you act like a bunch of kids. So rather than just force this locker room together, I'm going to say, Micah, Dak, let's have a conversation. Go for a walk with me. I'm not going to meet you in my office. Let's go for a walk. Guys, we obviously want to win. We obviously want to be special. We've been underperforming for these last few years. We got to get over the hump. I want the two of you to sit next to each other in the locker room. That's what I want. Can you guys do that? Can we make this locker room more united right now? Like, you treat them like human beings. You want to treat them like a bunch of elementary kids and just say, you don't have any say where to sit. Michael, Joey, you can't sit next to each other because you talk too much. Like, okay, what kind of conversation is that? What happens when you start to feel empowered and you feel like a man? I remember when I was in high school and I was talking and being kind of a jerk in class, being a class clown. And I had a teacher who easily could have just moved me away and separated me from the people that I was interacting with. Said he took me out of the classroom. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And I was being all too cool for school. And he's like, why are you acting like this? I was like, acting like what? He's like, do you know how smart you are? He's like, you are too smart to be acting like a punk in class. Like, what are you doing? And that class itself had kids who weren't the best, who weren't necessarily going in the right places. And he was like, why are you going down to that level? Like, what are you doing? And it was a real honest conversation. And he treated me like a man, even though I was far from it. And it made me feel like a man. It gave me more control over my life. It made me feel more empowered. It was one of the best teaching moments I've ever had in my life. Because he treated me and talked to me like a man and was like, bro, you're making mistakes now. Yeah, you could still have fun. Yeah, you could still be a class clown. You could still be you, but like, be smarter. You're clearly capable of more. When he could have just said, I don't like that they're sitting next to each other. I'm going to put him over here, you over there. That you could have done that. And that would have continued to treat me like a child, like a kid. And I would have continued to act like a child, like a kid. But instead, I was like, this guy sees me as a man. This guy sees me as smart. And I wanted to be that guy. I didn't want to disappoint him. That's how this works. And not to mention, that guy, he was my teacher. He was also a coach, a brilliant player. Was going to have a great career, but he tore his arm up. He was a fallen soldier in the baseball machine. That's how these things work. That's when someone is mature, a mature coach, who's not trying to pretend to be something more than he is. So yeah, there's a method to my madness, right? Like, dude, what is this? It's just. I have a bigger problem with how he went about doing it and then how he expressed it to everyone else than the actual thing itself. If he diagnosed that was a problem and that's what he wanted to do, he wanted this locker room to be a little bit more connected, so he wanted to shake things up again, then you have that conversation with everyone, especially Dak and Micah. You treat men like men. You treat boys like boys, they act like boys. You treat yourself and you pretend to be something beyond more than you are, bro, you get found out very quickly, especially in a locker room. Especially. You can only pretend for so long. And then you get exposed. That's why we use the word exposed way too much in sports. So-and-so was exposed. Were the Cowboys exposed? Was Dak exposed? It's like, no. But you do get exposed sooner rather than later if you're not him. That's sports is the great equalizer, man. And you got a lot of people you got to prove yourself to, even when you're the leader. So, I got problems with this for different reasons than them. Yeah. I don't know, man. Maybe Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It is always interesting in Dallas, that's for sure. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Dallas Cowboys moving locker rooms around? There's a method to his madness. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're all on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.